We're going to be breaking down the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100, but ultimately we have our FOMC meeting happening tomorrow with most likely getting a 25 BPS cut going into the beginning of 2026. Now, the expectation, again, like I said, is to get that cut. But in my opinion, the big thing that we're worried about is going to be the tone of the Fed. And when I talk about the tone of the Fed, what I'm implying is how are they going to be filling out for more cuts going into the beginning of 2026. Now, I think there's been a lot of fear of not even getting a cut in December, which, those quickly went away. But it's important to understand that they're not going to go into this with this mentality of let's cut, because the person that's running the Fed doesn't really want to be doing all these cuts in the first place, and definitely is more conservative in the pace of taking cuts and raising rates as well, like we've seen over the past, 2 to 3 years. So again, it's very important to understand where we're at and how we're moving. So I definitely think there's a lot more at stake than what we're looking at, because right now I think the odds on cost here are like 95%. But let's jump into it. Now, the first thing that I do want to say is when you look at overall data of what's happening out there in the market the past day or two, you're getting very little amounts of volume. So just really quick updating this so you can see. Yesterday you had 54 million as far as volume on SPY. And then today you have around 27 and you have around 2.5 hours left in the day. So we'll see what this comes out to, but I have a feeling it's going to be pretty low. In retrospect, go look at the half day that we had back here on November 28th, the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday. That was a half day of trading. You had 49 million. It's funny when people want something to fit their agenda, they say it over and over and over. But when, something doesn't really fit the agenda, we don't really talk about it. And it's funny that you're seeing everyone saying that, well, the volume during Thanksgiving was very, very low. But when you look at the facts, it was actually much higher than what we've gotten outside of Thanksgiving week. I'm just telling you, we have had no volume days above 80 million in volume on SPY since Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving volume was actually moderately high in retrospect of where we're at and how we've moved. So it's very important to understand and at least to be honest with yourself and what's happening out there in the market. But again, as we proceed, you need to understand tomorrow, like I said, 2 p.m. Eastern is when we're gonna have the Fed rate decision, the press conference at 2:30. I'll most likely be live here on the channel as well. I'll keep you guys up to date and posted about that as well. So again, check out the channel. We might be live during that time. I should be here on the channel. Okay. Now, again, everyone's expecting this rate cut to happen. But again, like I said, it's going to be that forward-looking move. And again, I don't want to, repeat the same thing too much. But again, I think sometimes we ignore everything, right? We kind of we choose to listen to what we think applies to us. And again, there is it's just a large concern because you're not getting half the data, right? So because the government shutdown that happened, you didn't get CPI, I think last quarter or last month. You're not going to get, they just announced the BLS is not going to be releasing PPI data for November. So we're going to get November's, we're not going to get October's data. We'll get October's data when we get November's data here in December, which whatever, we'll see what happens. But again, people are blaming us on Trump. We're blaming us on everybody else. I don't really care. Just give us information, give us data, because right now we have none of it. And again, like the Fed said at the last meeting, again, I'm just using the Fed's words, not my own. They're basically driving through extreme fog. They don't know what's ahead of them. They don't know what the data is. They don't know about employment. And so they're making decisions kind of, a little bit irrational right now. Again, whether people want to admit it or not, they're not getting all the data that they need. And so again, you're going to hear Powell address this. I'd be expecting him to address that once again, like he has before. And he said they're going to do what they can. We know they're probably going to cut based off of jobs being cut. We've seen what's happening across the board. There's a major concern in jobs, not even on inflation anymore. That's the real concern now is jobs, unemployment rising. Okay. So that's what's happening tomorrow as far as the inflation report, et cetera. Now, going back into SPY, going back into the market. So despite, there being, and I do think the concern going into the Fed meeting is more of, we're probably not going to cut first 2 months of January. Unlikely, okay? Now, despite that, you've still seen the SPY green on the day, even though it's slightly green. It's more of a chop day. If you follow me on Twitter, I recommend doing so. Just going to tell you right now, you're going to get all the updates. I post video content on there as well. So I do want to give that, to you guys if you want to get more updates. It's absolutely free for you guys. And before we start going into the charts, I also want to say if you guys want to see exactly what we're trading, how we're trading every single day, the Discord link is down below for you. I post a lot of this stuff for free when I can on Twitter, TikTok, here on YouTube. But again, if you want all the information, hand holding, etc., it's all there in Discord for you. Last night we took Apple overnight, hit 180. Today we took Meta to the downside into low of day. I want to see the big break. We didn't end up getting it. Maybe we'll get into the end of the day, but that's where we're at right now. And we also, I think, had Tesla, which Jay mentioned as well, Google yesterday. So all the trades are there. If you want to get that information, it's all down below, profits, etc. So do what you got to do. I also want to say, if you're looking to trade futures, get into future trading. Again, you guys know I'm a big advocate of prop firms. I think it's the best thing you can do if you're looking to scalp and make a specific amount every day. The two prop firms that I'm primarily using right now, there are some other ones out there that are nice, that are cheaper, but I think the best ones out there. Number one, if you're more experienced, I think Take Profit Trader is the best in the game. You literally can take profits every single day and withdraw to your bank account, which is insane. They're 200. This is the only prop firm I use the 150K accounts on. I'm just letting you know, because if you do end up failing it, it's only $100 to reset. And again, it's the best barrier to entry. Like I said, you want to have a bigger buffer because you're taking daily payouts. So I do think if you're into this, you know, you have experience, 150Ks are the way to go. Use code HEFE, you get, I think, 40% off. So again, it's only $200, which is crazy. One of the best deals out there right now. The other thing, as I posted this on Twitter, this is Tradeify. If beginners, I think 50K accounts are the way to go for most beginners. You can also do straight to funded, or you can, you can do straight to funded, but you can also do daily payouts. The rules are a little bit tighter, but as far as how much it costs to, get in, barrier to entry, great deal right now. And you get a full refund when you pass on whatever you paid for your accounts. So again, that's only going to last for a few more days. Links down below. Do what you got to do. Let's get back to it. Now, going into SPY. And I've done a lot of these updates, and I've been trying to do more updates on SPY, making sure you guys are up to date. And I never want people to feel like, oh, well, Tyler's, he's trying to make me pay for Discord. He's, just, it's a money trap. I'm never trying to do that. If you guys, want to have, more of a one-on-one, ask questions and get answers quickly, like obviously that's going to cost money. But, when we look at where we're at, I try to make all these updates on Twitter, quick, short, to the point. And, the big level here has been on SPY, basically 685, which is where you're rejecting right now, potentially putting in a lower high. Now, I will say, like I said in yesterday's video, I don't expect crazy action going into FOMC, so it makes sense that we're kind of getting rejection there. On the other side, QQQ is actually trying to hold that November 12th high, which is very impressive, and you're making clear higher lows there as well, which is also very nice to see. Want to see this continue, but ultimately what you're looking at going out of FOMC is, can we hold these levels 625 and then I think 665 on SPY as well. So, or 685, I'm sorry, right? That's what we really want to see. Now, as far as opportunity setups out there, I kind of want to focus on that throughout this video. So you guys know some of the setups, intraday, et cetera, that I'm looking at. But first, let's go over futures as well. And again, when you look at futures, it's a very, very, very simple chart. Again, you're just sitting below this like 25.73 spot, which is not a major key level. It's just a intraday level. Same with this downside here. Now, the one thing that I do want to highlight and make sure people understand what's actually happening is what's going on with futures right now. So futures, your big levels, I want to make this as clear as possible. Your big supports, where you're going to find lots of buyers, in my opinion, or if you want to get bearish, you got to get below these, is your number one, 25,400 right here, your previous high from October 10th and 9th. And then you have this other level here around 25.5. Those are two pretty big levels. Now the 25.5 level, why that's significant is if you zoom back here, when you broke below this level here where you were trying to remount, you broke below, you sat there for literally like 3, 5 to 4 days, and then you broke below. And then you literally had a drop of almost 1,000 points instantaneously. You bounced up and then you dropped another 1,000 points once again. So it was a major, major level, and you rejected 25.4. So again, those are the two levels I would be watching. And as you can see, you're actually developing support above those. So that's still really bullish action for me. And I'm not going this with the viewpoint of like, okay, I'm bearish right now at all, right? I'm still net bullish overall. But where do you get really bullish on the other side of this is breaking back above this high here, which you've rejected at so far, 25.87, which again, we've been tracking very, very closely in Discord specifically. So again, you can see everything that we've been looking at, why we've been looking at it, in detail. I want to scroll back so you guys can see that we were marking this out, why we were looking at this. As you can see here, over 25.5, looking for VWAP, looking for 25.7, then 25.85 right there. And I think I had the level still on there, as you can see right here, 25.87. So I just rounded down a little bit lower. But again, that's what we had the level before it ever even was touched. We had it marked out there. So again, it's been here on the channel. We've been knowing this. It's not a surprise that we're finding some resistance there right now. So important to know that, important to be thinking about that, looking at that. Now, opportunities in the market. Because again, I think if you're going, and I want to be very clear about this, when I'm talking about opportunities in the market and talking about different setups, the thing that I want to make abundantly clear right now, and I think some people are like, "Oh, well, you were wrong." First of all, I'm going to be wrong. Like I've never claimed that I'm the all-knowing stock guru. But the other thing I want to be made clear, I have setups for the downside and I have setups for the upside. And people always try to say this thing of like, well, what's going to happen tomorrow? That is fundamentally not how I trade. How I trade, and I'm going to paint a very clear picture, okay? What I do is I wait for levels to get broken and for breakouts to happen. So for instance, let's use 25.73. If you were to mount this level, break, retest, and push up, I would be looking to go long because you've gotten your reaction. I'm not predicting anything. You've already broken above. You've found buyers where there were sellers, and now you're pushing back to your next level. I'm reacting to what's in front of me, okay? Now, again, could things reverse? Could I get trapped? Could I be wrong? Yes, but I'm putting myself in a better position to win. And that's fundamentally all I want to do is statistically, let's say I'm entering a trade and I'm not even looking at where it's at on the chart, but if I'm just pick a random stock, let's say I'm Microsoft. I go long on Microsoft. Well, let's say when I go long, just for no reason, just blind looking at the chart, going long, it's a 50-50 odd. Now, I can do things in my opinion or I can watch for things that will increase my percent chance of success of coming into those levels specifically, right? Like mounting a level, holding above VWAP, breaking over support, retesting said support, having increased volume on a breakout, etc. Those are things that I have to be looking at that I think tick the needle in favor of going from 50% to 60% to 70%, etc. Right now, I don't think you ever get to 100% chance of success. I think you can push the needle, closer in that direction. That is, again, just my opinion. So let's jump into those opportunities and what I'm looking at. So for upside, again, one of the big names I've been watching is Apple. I actually ended up getting out of my trade here because I just didn't like how you were moving this morning. You shot straight up in like to 280 and my first target was like 280.5. So I ended up like cutting up here, to be honest. I'm like, I move stops up, let it, hit my my trailing stop loss. It is what it is, right? I still think Apple's a great setup. And if we didn't have FOMC, I would be holding this overnight. Again, I held it last night overnight. I'd be holding this again if it wasn't for FOMC. The fact that you're just sitting above your previous all-time high back here, again, I love it. Good retest. You held this low here as well. So again, bounced off this, pop back up. That is what you wanted to see. And that's what you're seeing right now. And then today you're holding above that level once again, 277. If you look at the action, it's very, very clear you're holding right above that level. So again, important to see. Hopefully that makes sense. So again, you have room into 280, but I really think Apple could start pushing back towards all-time highs. I think it's a very strong stock, very good stock. Again, some people might hate it, but again, this is just my opinion. So where we're at there. The next step further is NVIDIA, which is probably the most impressive thing here on the day. Not the most impressive stock, but just one of the more impressive price action points that we're getting as of right now. Okay. And so the key level is here at 184. You probably heard me say the numbers 184 in that sequence, maybe over 1,000 times in the past 4 months. Maybe 2,000 times. So again, you're holding that point today. And so today, again, you're bouncing back up. You're holding 184. You get that slingshot move towards 187. You shoot, this was yesterday. You shoot down, you pop up again, and then you shoot back down. I think overnight you were like at 190, but again, that's where you're at right now is 184. Now, this is happening because of what's being said from Trump and what's happening with China. So NVIDIA, we talked about this yesterday, can sell more of the advanced H200 AI chips to China, but will Beijing want them? So again, I post this on Twitter, and I post all this news, all of it on Twitter for you guys at all points. And I usually, if you guys leave me a comment, I'll respond. If you DM me, I might not see it because of Twitter's new encryption. So I don't sometimes I just won't see your stuff until really, really late. And so what's happening with this is, again, let me be clear, this is a shittier chip. This isn't their best chip. This isn't even one of their top chips, right? It's like third, fourth best, right? And Trump basically said that NVIDIA can sell this chip to China. Now, someone commented when I posted this is a negative. This is bad for NVIDIA. Well, let me be very clear about this. First of all, I want to answer your questions, but if you don't provide some evidence or logic or reasoning, then I'm not gonna talk to you like an adult, because if I said, what's your favorite color, and you said blue, I'd be like, what the hell's wrong with you? Why are you talking like that? Why are you talking like a toddler? Why are you talking like an idiot? That doesn't make any sense. I'd be like, oh, my favorite color is blue. And what I said, why? And you're like, oh, because he's my favorite. It'd be really weird. I'd be like, oh, you told me a reason why. I'm like, okay, cool, that makes sense. Even more so with stocks. Okay, so please provide some logical rationale behind some of the stuff you're thinking. So anyways, the reason why this is only a net positive is because the worst China could do is say no. Very important to understand. That's all they can do is say no. Nothing bad can come from this. Just gonna let you know. They already have $500 billion in signed orders going into 2026. This can only be a positive. So again, that's why NVIDIA is finding love. The second you get any news regarding any deals for the H200s going to China, you will see NVIDIA's pop up. Again, what you want to see on NVIDIA is above 187. Above 187, I think you have a clear shot to 190, then towards 195. That's what I'll be looking at there, okay? Now, one of the other big names out there is AVGO. And again, AVGO and TSM, if you don't know, I think they're kind of simultaneous names right now, as they are really benefiting off the deal from Meta and Google. If you don't know, AVGO and TSM manufacture and design the chips that Google has. So everyone's like, okay, well, Google has this deal with Meta to sell the TPUs to them, et cetera. Oh, this is so cool. Well, the people that are making them are AVGO and TSM. AVGO designs, TSM manufactures. And so this is why they're a big winner as well. And so again, you are mounting this little gap fill area right there. And you can see you're holding above it and you're shooting back up. All-time high is right here at basically 408, 407. I do believe if tomorrow goes well, AVGO is a prime candidate to be the big winner going into the next few days. Again, this thing could start pushing up easy. Again, it's had a really good push. On the day, you went from literally 398 into basically 408. So great push there. You love to see it. Now, as far as weak names that I don't like right now, number one, Meta. So Meta has been one of the top trades for me. And again, I love this trade. And again, I literally told Discord, let me tell you, I'll show you exactly what I told him, right? Technicals for the scalp. Literally said, as you see here, testing low day here. Contract should be up decent already, but I want to see the flush towards 650. Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do with the trade, right? But I said right before that, I was like, look, Nasdaq's getting the test. Either you reject here or I'm stopping out, taking the little profits I have or whatever. So again, I give people usually some updates about what to expect. And then obviously it went down. Thank God we got out, bounce back up. But I do think Meta is still in trouble if you stay below this area here at around 660, and you're kind of getting a retest here. So if you stay below this, I am looking for a downside to the gap fill of 648 is where your support is, and you really have a gap fill all the way down towards like 640, 644. Target 2 would be 644 to 642 for myself. So do what you want with that as well. So what I'd be tracking there as a weaker name. Another name out there that's weak is Netflix. Now, again, I still like Netflix as a longer term buy, but this is still one of the weakest names out in the market. Like I said as well, below 97, 97, $98, right? You're looking down towards 94. You lose 94, you don't have any support basically down towards 84, $82. So definitely watching that. Keep this on the top of your watch list as well. Very, very weak as of right now. TSM, another one of the big names I've been mentioning, and I've talked about this one quite a few times on the channel. I think I mentioned it in yesterday's video as well. Could be wrong though. But again, above 301, pushed right into 304, 305. Next level is 307. And then after that, you're looking towards all-time highs, 310, 311. A really good name. I still think semis are one of the best areas of the market. Now, my favorite semi out there too is ASML right now. Again, I've done a deep dive on them a lot. It's a great overall stock. It's mounting. It is clearly mounting previous all-time highs here from July 2024. And this is one of the few semiconductor names that hasn't broken its 2024 all-time highs, which is crazy, or just broke it at least and not really running. So again, ASML, if you don't know, is basically has a monopoly on their like niche in the semiconductor space. Look into them. I recommend looking into them, and also understand how many units they actually sell. They sell under 300 units just this year, which was one of their best. It was their best year ever as far as revenue and sales and overall growth. And again, they're killing it. So again, they're not like they're selling boatloads of GPUs or anything like that. They're just a leader. They're a dominant force, and they have basically a stranglehold on that part of the sector. So important to know that as well. One of the other really strong names out there is CrowdStrike, which got that move today towards 530, which we talked about. If you can stay above 517, 518 now, I still believe this is a firm and strong winner. I do believe, and I'm telling you, if FOMC, the market continues to run, I'd be looking for CrowdStrike into 550. One of the big things for opportunities I'd be watching for is understanding how some of these stocks perform on earnings, okay? So on earnings, it's funny, CrowdStrike dipped and then you bounced right back up. CrowdStrike had phenomenal earnings, okay? And I also posted a deep dive into their earnings. I do a lot of stuff regarding earnings, what's happening as far as growth, and you can see the uptick in their annual reoccurring revenue, which in my opinion was the big win there. So again, what I'd be watching, what I'd be tracking as far as CrowdStrike, I think this is a very bullish name. I think the sector as a whole is strong. Pan W, if you want a sympathy play above the 200 SMA, also a decent name as well, going to get less of a move. I think Salesforce is also a unit here. I'd be watching Salesforce very closely. You're mounting the 200 daily moving average. I went over this with Jordan. There are some resistances in here, but I believe you're going to be aiming towards 273, 270 conservative, but 273, 276 is where I'm really looking for the next level of resistance. I'm very, very, very bullish on CRM. I love where it's at. Again, we talked about this being a buy down here at 230, 232, but I think now this is where you could start getting interested in options. This is where you could start seeing big gains going into January 16th, maybe a little bit more time if you want that. But again, what I'd be looking at, what I'd be tracking there, very impressive name in my personal opinion. Super strong, right? I'm not going over the cheap names, just going over some of the bigger caps, day trades you could be looking at as well. I made a video the other day as well about Adobe. Shout out to freaking Adobe. Shout out to the key levels. Oh my God, love to see it. Again, you came down perfectly into 312. Absolutely gorgeous. You're looking for the test of the 200 SMA at basically 368. When you mount the 200 SMA on Adobe, this could be absolute fireworks. I'm talking Katy Perry, whipped cream on her nipples, shooting those like nipple guns where she's like shooting whipped cream. Absolutely crazy. Beautiful. Absolute cinema. Beautiful thing to see. That's what we're looking for here. Now, what I would do though with Adobe, if you're not confident, what I would do is I would go watch CRM and watch how CRM, because it's a very similar chart. Let's watch how CRM reacts to the 200 SMA on the mount and just see how it responds. Right? This could go back, could be totally wrong, go bad, it could dump all the way down, they could get news tomorrow. But watch how you respond. I think it's very important. If you're new to the channel, like go look at some past cases of things that we've talked about, things we looked at, because everything that I'm doing when it comes to trading has to be repeatable. I think that's the biggest thing that people will need to understand when it comes to day trading, scalping, whatever it may be. What you're doing has to be repeatable. If it's not a repeatable function or repeatable strategy, you are guessing, you are getting lucky. Like that's very important to understand, right? I want to make that as clear as possible. Okay. If it's not repeatable, you are gambling, you're getting very lucky. Your luck will run out, right? So when you see me talk about things and you're like, oh, well, that looks the same setup as that one and that one. And well, there's a reason for it. There's a reason why, right? And another thing that I want to focus on too, and before I let you guys out of here, is I have not been taking a crazy amount of trades. And if you're in Discord and you're new, you're probably like, dude, Tyler, what the hell what's going on? Like, you're not talking, there's not, guys, I've been, especially this week, the action's been slow, not the greatest. Funny enough, most of my good wins have been overnight trades. Apple was nice. We had CrowdStrike. That was decent. It wasn't the greatest, but still paid off. We had ASML. That was a big one. I'm not gonna lie, that was a big one. So again, we're getting more swings, but as far as intraday trading, you're just not getting the great continuation right now, which I think will end. I think we'll get some continuation up or to the downside over the next few days. But again, understand, like you don't need to be taking 30 trades a day. If you're taking over 5 trades a day, I'm telling you, you're probably over trading, right? Futures, I can get on that. I can get on board. But as far as stock options, like you need to understand, like you should be selective. You should be like, okay, this is a great setup. It justifies checks box 1, 2, and 3. That's what I'm taking. I'm not taking trades to fulfill and satisfy my hunger for option domination. Okay. Follow for more content. Do what you gotta do. Discord link, Twitter links down below. Appreciate it. Have a good one, traders.